Okay, welcome back. We are now on the fourth question type in the listening section, the mood or attitude questions. Now, in the official video, they refer to this simply as attitude questions. However, that covers most of the question types of this style, but it could be about the person's mood. It could also be about opinions, about feelings. Now, mood, attitude, feelings, opinions, thoughts, those things are all related, but they're not exactly the same thing. So just calling them attitude questions doesn't really cover everything. Of course, mood or attitude doesn't cover everything, but it's a little bit more because most of the questions of this type are going to be referring to, as they say, the tone of voice. And tone of voice often expresses the person's mood about something or their internal thoughts or feelings about something. Now, this one's kind of an interesting one, because the mood or attitude questions that follow the description of what they say here and in most textbooks are pretty clear. They don't take much thought to determine. As they have with the example, the question types start with, what is the professor's attitude? What does the student think about? Now here they say, what can be inferred? Well, what they're referring to is inferred by someone's statement. And that statement will usually have something about a tone of voice or some sort of expression, which could express sarcasm or cynicism. It could express joy, excitement, enthusiasm. It's a little bit, that's the part that's a little bit hazy. Now, just to finish up with the straightforward explanation, usually it will have questions like, what does the student feel about? What is the professor's opinion about this? It could also have things like, why does the professor say this? And then they have some sort of an expression. Another reason why this one's not very clear is that in all of the descriptions, either in videos or in textbooks, sometimes they will say that you will listen to part of the audio again. But in most cases, they don't mention that. However, if you go to the examples in a lot of the textbooks, they actually do play a portion of the audio again. That's why this one, as far as the whole organization of the exam, this particular question type is not really all that clear as far as what question constitutes a mood or attitude question, because some of them have a little bit more about inferring something. Some of them have more about why did they make this statement. So therefore it kind of falls into the category of, almost like a vocabulary question. It's a little bit strange, but the reason I tell you this is not to make you worried. The reason I tell you this is to let you know that sometimes there are some things that don't necessarily make very much sense as to why they do things a certain way. However, that's nothing you should worry about, because this particular question type is really very easy. So when you do have one of these question types, it's not like in the reading section where you recognize it right away, because as you can see from some of our examples, here it says, why does the women's initial excitement turn to disappointment? Well, here, excitement and disappointment have to do with mood or attitude, but it doesn't ask you what the woman's attitude or mood is. Here, why does the person hesitate before agreeing to the professor's request? Well, they're not asking you what the person's mood or attitude is, but that is part of the question. This one here is much more clearly a mood or attitude question. What is the professor's opinion about? And with almost all of this question type, usually it comes down to the tone of voice, or they'll make some sort of an expression. Now, we have here sarcasm and cynicism, which are generally considered to be negative things. Joy, excitement, enthusiasm, those are generally considered to be good things. And as I state here, it can be about positive feelings, like maybe the person is like the professor is describing a book or something like that, and they'll say, oh, it's one of the most fascinating books of its time period. It really shows the struggle of the working man, something like that. So they're really being expressive with their voice and the words that they're using. So it could show joy or excitement or enthusiasm. But usually this question type is focused more on negative attitudes or moods or ideas or opinions, just because it's a little bit easier to express. Now, I know it's easy to express excitement and joy and happiness, but for some reason, most of the examples have to be about some sort of negative mood or idea. So just a couple other things I wanted to mention. Of course, I already talked about why I added the word mood to this one. We kind of covered this one, that this particular example here, they're talking about making an inference, which you do have to do. You're making an inference about the person's mood or attitude based on what they said. But what can be inferred? They should have said about, this statement, something like that. It's a little bit strange here because it would take a lot more space on the screen to make that a more full example. But this part right here, it says what I think. The person in the video says, listen for phrases like what I think or it seems to me. Now, this might happen. And if you do hear this when you're listening to the audio file, definitely take notes on that. But really, I have not seen a lot of examples where they state the opinion or the thoughts or the feelings so directly. Usually it's not given that directly. But what I have noticed is that oftentimes you'll hear some part of the audio file where you can tell that the person is showing some sort of mood or excitement. And when that does happen, they will play that little portion of the audio file again. That's why I was saying before, that in a lot of the textbooks, they don't mention that this is one of those question types where they actually will play the audio file again. So it gets kind of mixed up with the function question, and mood and attitude is really just another form of the function question. Why did they say this, or what are their thoughts or feelings about this? In both of them, you do have to make an inference. Now, this part, when they say, ask yourself, how valid is the argument? How sure of the facts is the speaker? These two questions right here, I don't see how they're going to help you in any way. That has nothing to do with this question type. And then finally, here it says, what attitude does the professor express when he says this? Now, when they give this example here, they're implying that they're going to play some portion of the audio file again, which they didn't mention. But when they do have a question type like this, they will play the audio file again. All right, and then if you notice the keywords in the answer choices, he is impressed, he is concerned, he is bored, he is eager. So as you can see, all of these are implying some sort of an attitude or a mood. So really, as I said, some of the descriptions about this particular question type are a little bit confused. I don't want to say confusing. There's nothing confusing about them. But the way that a lot of videos and textbooks try to describe this question type is a little bit confused on their part, I think. Now, you won't have this question type with every listening passage, but really it's quite simple. When they ask you what is the person's opinion about some situation, well, they're asking for an opinion. It's as simple as that. When they say, what is the person's attitude when they express this? Well, then you're going to listen to part of the audio file again, and then you just have to pick the best answer choice. So there's really nothing difficult about it. Just follow the questions, listen to the tone of voice. That's the most common way that they express this, and listen for emotion in the way that the person is speaking, and then choose the best answer choice available. And that's pretty much it. So when we get into the next parts of this lesson, this will become a lot more clear, but that's the mood or attitude. It's just asking you the person's thoughts, feelings, opinions about some sort of topic, and they will almost always play the audio file again so you can hear which part they're referring to, and you can listen for the tone of voice. All right, so thanks for stopping by, and we will see you in the next lesson.